Right now it's going, I think. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, a busy day. How's the weather in Cali?
It's warm today. We got 85 degrees today.
Oh man.
That'd be nice.
What do we read today?
Um,
Like
Man,
60? 50, 55, 60?
I'd say 50s, 60s maybe if we're lucky. Overcast. We
Yeah.
haven't seen the sun in probably what, a week? It seems like it.
Okay, right now it's 63 and cloudy right now in Champaign. I
Okay.
just checked.
That's
So
not that bad.
not too bad, not
Yeah.
too bad. Not breezy, so that's okay. So it's looking pretty good. Oh man, so we got a couple, not even a minute in. We're getting the crowd
And we
going
just lost
here.
Gil.
We'll be right back.
Gil's rearranging his living room furniture.
Exactly. I got to fix that lighting.
Lighting, so crucial, man. That's like the next level stuff, right?
Oh, well, in my office, it's the way the light comes in, you can't see me.
Oh, the glare. All right. So, unfortunately, Dakota might be a little bit late, or he actually might not be able to make it. There was some medical stuff that popped up that he had to take care of, so he's gonna do that. I texted him, and so far I don't think it's anything serious, or I'm pretty sure he would have told me. So, yeah, he has to just take care of his wife, but I think all good. So, hope everybody's doing well. Thanks for joining us for another wonderful Thursday talk show. Man, I've been waiting for this one for a long time. He is the reason why I'm actually here in Champaign. We had a chat, and he gave me some great advice. I was all ears, and I thought it was a good idea myself. So we decided when I started my team manager position, we would do a split move where I would come to Champaign to learn more about the culture and get familiarized with everything Horizon. But unfortunately, things kind of got
Topsy turvy.
yeah, things kind of got derailed a little bit with the COVID stuff for everybody, not just myself. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to step foot in the office and meet and greet everybody like we were planning to, because we were, had a great idea going, but unfortunately, things have decided to not work out that way. But still making the best of it. But our guest this week is none other than the man himself. A legend in so many ways. You've touched RC racing from all different aspects, man. Gil Losi Jr., welcome to the show. I'm honored to have you as a guest, and man, pleasure.
Well, and thank you. After that introduction, can we be done? We can only go down from here.
I mean, you've had a long, good. I mean, just everything. Just all over the map with RCs, from designing, from having your own company, from tires, product development, just all aspects of it, man. It's just been crazy. And now you're a guest on this show and still a TLR consultant. It's an awesome journey, hasn't it been?
It's been fun. I'll never complain about the life I've had.
So we always start off the show with our traditional kickoff here, the dad joke. I texted Gil. It's like, hey man, you better bring some ammo because Scott, he's ready to go. He's got the dad jokes on lockdown. He's been winning a lot of these one-on-one battles, obviously for fun. And so as we kick off the dad joke. So the competitor is always first. Gil, what you got, buddy?
Well, I have to say, I'm not a jokester, so this is a joke. I'm sitting there when I got your text, and I'm sitting there with Todd, and I'm trying to help. And he sent me a couple stupid jokes, so I'll share one of those.
All right, we got something. We got
to actually properly prepare. And it's not a dad joke; it's just a joke.
Okay.
So why do bees have sticky hair?
The what has sticky hair?
Bees.
Bees have sticky hair. Oh man, because they just got done buzzing.
They don't mind their beeswax.
No, because they use honeycomb.
Honeycombs. That is almost
That's a good
the
one.
same category as a dad joke right there. I'd say that qualifies.
I literally ran from our test session to here, and Todd told me that one while we were standing there testing. So I had no other time to prepare.
So thanks, Todd, for that one. You kind of bailed Gil out. So, Scott, what you got, buddy? The champ. Here we go. Oh no, he is frozen out of this. Oh wait, he's back. He's back.
I'm back. You know what?
Oh.
I think I know why my thing was so bad. My VPN was still connected.
Oh yes.
Yeah, could have been
That will
it.
definitely do it. Yeah.
All right, so my turn now.
Yeah, you're
All
up,
right,
buddy.
so I had to think about it this time because I had some good ones and I didn't want to fall flat on my face. So we're always talking about who's faster, who's better, something like that. But we've never asked the question, who's faster, cold or hot? We've never debated that question. So who's faster, cold or hot?
Cold.
No?
I'd go with hot,
I'll go with
Not-
cold.
but I'm a shock oil guy. Shock oil's faster when it's hot.
Well, it's definitely hot because everyone can catch a cold.
Oh. Oh man, that is a ringer right there. You came in with a ringer. Okay, so Dakota has made it. So I'm gonna let Dakota join Dakota up. Dakota, what is going on, man?
What's going on, guys? How's it going?
Good,
Excellent,
good. How about
dude.
you?
How's
How's everything with you?
Yeah, is everything okay?
Yeah, all good.
Okay, all good. All right.
What's up,
Awesome.
Gil?
What's up, man?
How's it going?
Good. Awesome. We've been playing all day.
You guys just get the dad jokes done.
Yeah.
Guess who won?
Nice. Scott.
Guess who won?
Scott.
Yeah, I think
Nice.
Scott takes this one. That was a pretty good one. Can you do it one more time for Dakota since you missed it?
So we're always on this show. We're always debating, who's faster, who's better, kind of stuff like that. But we've never asked the question, who's faster, hot or cold? What's your opinion?
Oh man, that's a good one. I kind of know that I caught the end of it a little bit here when I was.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
I just didn't get the first part.
Gotcha.
Oh, so it's faster because everyone can catch a cold. So
Yeah.
I went with cold, maybe just whatever. Just because Gil went with hot, so I was like, well, I'll just go with cold, see what happens. 50-50, right? So yeah, so I think Scott wins that one. So I just want to say hi to everybody that's joining up. Give a little shout out. Just appreciate everybody for tuning in and watching this. It's been a great series so far. We had a lot of awesome guests. Just being able to contact and connect with those guys and learn a little bit more about history, RC history, and just everything fun. So thanks, Josh Lett, for tuning in. We got Steven Schwind, Dean Clark, what's going on? We got the man, the myth, Barry Baker watching, Jeff Lemoyne also watching. Got dad jokes, baby dad jokes. So Barry making a nice comment there. Ryan, what's going on, man? Always tuning in. I appreciate you always watching and being a part of the show. Nico is back for another episode here. Thanks. One of the guys that always has a ton of questions for us is really a part of the show here, week after week. Jim, what's going on? Jim Bones Jones, man. I know Johnny Bones Jones. Okay, Barry Baker, Ryan Sharp, what's happening, buddy? Brian Ostrander, what's going on? Jesus Muchacho, there you go. And Brendan Webster, what's happening, guys? Thanks for tuning in. We're going to shoot straight to the next portion of this, which is the 10 of 10. Gil, are you aware of the 10 of 10?
No.
Okay, so the 10 of 10 is 10 questions, 10 answers. Basically, I ask every single guest the same questions just to see how the answers compare to everybody from different perspectives perspectives and different walks of life. I'm excited to hear your answers just because I think they're going to be quite fascinating from your perspective here. So we'll shoot through the questions. I'll take the notes, and then we can come back and talk about some of your answers a little bit more in detail. It's always like we always start the questions and we can barely get through number one, and it ends up being 10, 15 minutes, and then it kind of drags on. So we're going to take the questions, get the answers, and then we'll go through and talk about it. So number one, Gil, best thing about RC racing?
Ooh, God, the friendships.
Friendships. There you go. Friendships. It's a common one, isn't it? Everybody has, like, most people will say the friendships, and I think that's something that you forget through the process of racing cars, that you meet a lot of people that change your life, people that impact you, and a lot of times positively. All right, number two, best era of RC, old school or new school?
I think it's always the era that you start in.
What? Okay. I want to ask why, but we'll get back to that. Okay, era you started in, interesting. Okay, best current driver in the world.
Ooh. For what scale?
All, everything, to you.
Yeah. I can't even answer that. I'm a fan of so many people, like Dakota and everybody else, that I couldn't begin to.
He's being politically correct now.
Yeah, it really is, man. You're good, dude. Feels good. All right. Okay, so
How about I'll go back to my first hero. How's that?
Okay. So that question was best current driver in the world, and the next question is best driver of all time.
I would rather say my hero when I came up was Art Carbonell.
Oh.
And
the on-road legend.
He had won the 81 on-road 8-scale world championships, and he was he worked for Delta, raced for Delta, was a one-man crew, and he would go out and race these gigantic teams full of great people. And for him to constantly be at the top of the A-mains and winning that Worlds, and he did it with such class, that he was my hero when I started.
Wow. Okay, we'll come back to this question and get a little bit more about Art Carbonell. I've actually saw him race in person when I was really young, back in the mid-90s. So I can connect that story a little bit here. So number 5, what is the number one track in the world to you?
Is it of all time?
Yeah, layout, specific time, Pacific.
Okay, 1983 World Championships in Carnoux, France. On road.
Nice. No hesitation. You knew.
The track was the most incredible RC track ever built.
I'm going to have to look that up when we get to that, when we come back to that. Okay.
It was so big, you could probably take the biggest U.S. track that's ever been built and put it in 4 times. It had a discotheque at the end of the straightaway.
A disc? Oh, my God.
It was awesome.
Gee, okay, we're definitely coming back to this one. Okay, so next question: best race event in the world?
Oh, God, I've been to so many. Well, that's still the one that stands out in my head because I was a new racer. It was my first World Championships for 8 scale. It was built on top of a mountain in the center of an old town in France, and It just built this great stadium. The event itself was full of controversy at the end, but the event was just an incredible thing to walk up to. And they literally put a few thousand people in stands to watch it. So that's
thousands.
Yeah, there was everybody from the city showed up to watch this event.
Man,
so it was great.
Okay, yeah, we'll come back to this. White wheels or yellow wheels?
Oh, yellow.
Yellow.
White get too dirty.
White what?
White get too dirty.
Too dirty. Yellow, baby. Yellow. All right. How about this? Carpet or dirt?
Oh, wow. Well, I am currently enjoying learning carpet, but I'd still have to lean back to dirt.
Okay. And number 9, treads or slicks?
Definitely treads.
All right. Last question. The only question that matters. Longhorn or Outback?
Haha.
Ooh, see, he has to think about it. He's like, "What? This is you got me on this. I didn't think that like you weren't prepared for this one, were you?"
I don't have an answer because I don't have a preference, but
Oh,
So
man.
you're either. You don't matter. It doesn't matter to you.
it doesn't matter to me.
Oh, interesting. You're the first one that said doesn't matter.
Well,
Everybody had the preference
I'm a West Coast
so
boy.
far.
That's a more of a Midwest thing.
Yeah, it is true. That is true. Okay. So let's go back to the friendships. Let's talk about friendships. What kind of friendships, like what's so special about our season friendships to you?
Well, I'm a person that loves working on projects, and I identify with people when we work on common projects. And that's where you find a point to meet up and really relate to each other. So, being able to have such a focused, long-term thing where it's an individual sport, but you still got to work together to have success. And you end up finding people you pair off with really well and you can work really deeply with that, you don't find in very many places.
Mm. So you have like a special link with people because not only do you share the same passion, but there's also a same goal.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think after all the years you compete with somebody for a long time, you get to see what they're made of. And you can really sort out the people you identify with and you respect.
Who are some of the people that has impressed you that you've worked with?
God, the list is too long to go
Oh.
for. That's a politically dangerous one. I've had
Am I baiting people? And is that what I'm doing?
But no, I mean, you'd have to go back. In my heart was the original crew at Losi when we started the first program, which would be me and Jack. One was Jack Johnson, Ron Rossetti, Gary Kais, my father. Just that kind of core nucleus group was. We kind of did live together for years.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, that's. I think at that time there must have been some sort of crazy energy with that project and with everything happening. I mean, everybody must have been just had this buzz, and it must have been. I could imagine just exciting to work with everybody at such a level.
Well, everybody became family. You were closer. That group of people was so close for a while. We were probably closer than a lot of our own family members.
Awesome. And that's what makes it special, isn't it? Like having that bond. You consider yourselves like family. Like when I left Dakota, I'm like, dude, bro, thanks for everything. Like you're the closest thing I have to family here. You know what I mean? Like for him to come and pick me up and let me hang out at his house and all that. It was like. It was an awesome gesture that like you can only extend to people that you feel as that as part of your family.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's a Midwest thing too.
Is it? You think so? You think it's different here in the Midwest?
Oh, it's absolutely 100% different here in the Midwest than it is other places, especially the West Coast. No offense to the West Coast guys, but the Midwest has always been known for being a lot more friendly and a lot more outgoing than some of the other places.
Well, Southern California, when I was a teenager and starting to race, was very much like the Midwest.
Mm.
We used to camp out. We used to get together. We all stayed at each other's houses. But, LA now is not the LA I grew up in. It's become more New York.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It doesn't resemble the LA I grew up in.
Wow.
That's a good way to put it.
Interesting. All right. So when your answer to best era, you said the era you started in. Is that the era that matters?
I think for everybody, when they start out, it's new, it's exciting. They see it through very clear eyes, and that's when you have your best memories in your first 3 or 4 years. You might have your best success later, but you had your most fun in those early years. And in a way, you're still innocent. And the longer you're in it, the more you see things you don't like, the more you become caught up in the politics. And you still love it for different reasons, but it's not that new, exciting thing that like when you started. I would go back to, when did things start to go wrong? It would be like 4 or 5 years into my racing, and you could talk to everybody. It's a similar window.
Really?
Man, it's always great for a while, and then they start seeing, they get the peek behind the curtain, and then they still love it, but they'll find things they don't like, and the innocence is lost.
Mm.
So
That's
whenever
a pretty great answer.
So when you stay in that window of innocence, that's anybody's favorite era.
From a spectator standpoint, do you think it's more exciting now to watch RC racing or back in your day?
Definitely, it was better to watch qualifying in my day, before IFMAR qualifying, because everything was a race, and you could sit and watch it. It was way more fun to be at a track before IFMAR qualifying and the complex scoring systems. Mm-hmm. I think the level of equipment and driving today is just so far above anything in my era that if you want to appreciate just pure artistry, it's better today.
Okay.
But at the same time, the cars were really cool in my era. They all look like real cars. They all are cages, and it was as much a concourse event as it was a racing event. Yeah,
it's interesting that you say that, because several local tracks here in the Midwest are starting to adopt, like when they'll do their race during, maybe not their main Saturday race, but their race during the week, they'll actually do heads up for qualifying instead of IFMAR, which is, I got to do that, well before all this started. I got to do that, and that was actually a lot of fun,
Well, I can tell you, like, my first 8-scale on-road big race when I went to the Florida Winter Champs, and God, that was like 1981, and just the stress and the suspense, the last round of qualifying, you get the track always gets faster at an on-road race, especially in those days when we were in castor oil. Just the more laps got laid down, the faster the tracks would get. So the last round, the last 3 heats, the stress level, the competition level, everybody's packed around the track watching qualifying, and you don't see that level of excitement anymore except for a main event.
Which do you prefer, Dakota, as being, kind of has done both? Do you enjoy the heads-up starts?
Yes and no. I mean, kind of like what Gil said, it's definitely a lot more stressful. But I mean, I definitely think it's more exciting, and I think that if we want to keep progressing this industry and trying to grow it, that qualifying is not really interesting. It's not entertaining for anyone to watch, and that's a big part of growing the industry. I was going to ask Gil, do you know when it started, IFMAR qualifying, kind of when that started to come around and kind of take over?
I can remember it starting probably around 85-ish, somewhere in that window.
Okay.
Dakota wants to bring back the gate starts like RC Pro.
Yeah.
What about that?
I've done a couple of those.
Yeah. What about that, Gil? Could we spice it up with a gate start style? Like, if we're taking, heads up start to the next level, what if we just started gate starts?
Yeah, well, and we've done it both ways. As a racer, God, I don't know. If you get too many cars on a grid, we used to do gate starts, but we used to do like with 4 or 6 cars. And it was fine. But when you start getting 10, 12, 14 cars, it's just too many.
Yeah.
And, I'm all for the excitement, but I don't want just pure chaos, a lottery started.
Like an 18-car grid at PMB.
If there's enough room on the track for a proper heads-up start, great. But I don't know any tracks that are built with enough room to do it right. It'd be the type of thing you need a long enough, wide enough straightaway into a sweeping turn where, you can still run a couple abreast to get through that corner and just have the opportunity for it to pare down before chaos is just ensues.
Yeah.
So
I remember at the JC race at Hobby Action, I think it might have been last year, we did like a mod truck exhibition class, And we did it where we would do one warm-up lap just to check in, and then we would do like one hot lap. And that's how we started each qualifier. So we were still heads up racing, but we at least got a chance to kind of like grid ourselves based off of speed, which I thought was it was pretty fun. It was interesting, and it made, every qualifier was heads up racing, but it wasn't just like a random start.
Yeah, you got one hot lap to put down, and then that's where you put in. So it's kind of exciting. People are watching to see, whose hot lap was gonna grid them where, like in one bobble once, and you knew if there was a bobble in there, they weren't gonna get it. The pressure was on, everybody's watching. It was a little different feel. It's kind of cool. But obviously, to carry that on, it'd be very hard, just because you'd have to, if you want to do that for every class, it would just take a tremendous amount of time. But an exhibition class, like say mod truck or something, to spice it up with all the guys, there's just one heat of it, so it's just kind of something different. All right, so let's move on to your answer of your hero, Art Carbonell. This guy was an interesting guy, man. He was somebody special.
Yeah, very much so. If you watched him drive, he was super smooth, super technically perfect. Was not the fastest ultimate lap guy, just do lap after lap, keep a car together, keep tires on the car, and could manage an hour-long race as good as anybody.
Yeah. He also had I remember seeing him, because I remember watching this 8-scale on-road, and I think he was a Serpent car at the time, and he's just flying around this track, and I remember looking up, and I'm like, who's this guy? And then somebody goes, oh, that's Art Carbonell, and pointed to him, and he was a small man, and he also had a handicap with his hand, like he didn't have all his fingers or something, but yet none of that, like you would never tell that from the way he drove. Like he was a master, man, like impressive.
Yeah, someone made a comment, Brett Richter made a comment that Art is still racing.
Yeah, I see him once in a while.
Wow. Do you have regular conversations with him? Like, are you pretty close with him?
Well, at a race level, yeah, Delta was my first car sponsor, besides my dad. So we knew each other quite well in the really early 80s. Art's a quiet guy, and he has a heavy accent, but just a really nice presence. And you'd sit with him, and he was really helpful in teaching me a lot when I was at that age and that part of my career.
Okay, so he in a way was your mentor on Delta.
Yeah, we didn't get to spend too much time together, but so we probably did 3 or 4 races together, and through that time it was a good working relationship.
Awesome. So then we move to the 1983 World Champs in France. Let's tell me about this track, because it sounds too good to be true. Like, this is a part of history that I don't know nothing about, and like to me this knowledge is awesome. You know what I mean?
Well, I can tell you it was my first really big travel race. First time I ever left the U.S. to go racing.
And how old were you at this time?
18, 19, something like that. But yeah, I went there with Curtis Hustings racing for Associated. That was when I had just switched to Associated, and we were just starting the RC10 program. But I got to be part of that program, and that was the race that 2-speed transmissions were developed for. The straightaway was so long that if you geared with tall enough gearing to not break an engine, you'd burn up a clutch. So you had that. It just basically, the straightaway was so long you couldn't survive the race. So they had to build 2 speeds just so your clutch and engine would live. I think the straightaway was somewhere in the neighborhood of 800 feet long. I remember thinking that you could put the Ranch 8-scale asphalt track in it like 5 or 6 times. It's so big.
800.
I thought he was exaggerating a little bit when he said like 3 or 4 times bigger, but
no,
800 foot straightaway.
Yeah, we would literally. That's the first time we ever actually changed bodies, because the bodies we liked were too aerodynamically slow. So we actually were going to slipperier bodies so we could go 3 or 4 miles an hour faster down the straightaway.
Whoa.
It was totally crazy experience. And then you came onto the straightaway off a sweeper that was as big as this, or the large sweeper on an American track. Then you exited on a sweeper that was 3 times bigger and banked. So you didn't even lift for the sweep. You basically came on full throttle, and you didn't lift till you came out of the sweeper. And the straightaway, the back straightaway was so far away from you, you'd let off, hit the brakes, go around the turn, and you punch it. Then you'd hear your car shut off from coming off the back. It was so disorienting. I mean, it took us all. We were just all so blown away, and it took us, probably a full day of practice before we could stop tripping out on the delay of sound.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna go just. I'm gonna search for some images here. So if you guys want to.
Is it still around, or is it?
No, I hear the facilities there, but it's full of tennis courts.
Okay.
So how did you do? Sorry, Scott. How did you do at that race?
I finished 56th, and could have done a lot better. But the whole American team, we were burning up engines on the track, even with the 2 speeds. And come to find out that the oil package that we always used just wasn't strong enough to hold up to that kind of heat for that duration. And I took 6 engines, wore those out before the race even started.
Wow.
I think 2 of my qualifying runs at the first pit stop, I would have written in top 3 times. And somewhere about 2 minutes after your first fuel stop, your engine would wear out.
I can't find any images of this race. I'm looking for it. I see a 79 in Geneva. I don't see an 83 France Worlds. Man, bummer. I can't.
Maybe IFMAR has something on their site.
Yeah, shoot.
Maybe you can search
How
by the
long has
track
IFMAR
name.
been in? How long has IFMAR been in existence?
To my knowledge, the first, I think it was IFMAR first World Championships, and I'm pretty sure it was the first IFMAR World Championships, was held at Thorpe Raceway, which later became the Ranch Pit Shop, but that was 1977.
Wow, a long time.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, it's probably going to take me a while to dig around for that, but unfortunately, I can't find anything. But yeah, so you said that it had thousands of, and then everybody in the city basically came out and watched. So it was an epic thing. It was a monumental thing. How did they get all these people to come out? Was it advertising, or if it was like funding somewhere?
Well, it was, that's older Europe. That was before the euro was invented. So the Eurozone was just starting to be formed, really. And it was a different culture back then. Small village, this is a fairly small village, about an hour north of Nice. And it's kind of, people were looking for things to do. And this little complex at the top of the hill was a big deal in the city when they built it. And everybody talked about the race coming, so everybody from the little town showed up to watch.
Wow!
They actually flew. After the race, before the trophy presentation, they lowered the trophy out of a helicopter down onto the track.
What?
Yeah, it was
insane.
Quite an event.
Wow! We don't have anything like that at all anymore, do we?
We never did. The U.S. has never been able to put on races like Europe. I mean, I've heard of races like this in Germany. I've been to a couple pretty good races, not this level, but really good events in the U.K. But Europe has always had a little bit different racing culture than the U.S. In the U.S., we're kind of a working class kind of thing. In Europe, RC is done by an upper class group. Bankers here play golf. Bankers in Europe still race cars.
Yeah, the racing culture is much different there in Europe, just throughout, not just RC, but just any kind of automotive sport events, and they're really into their racing. The culture is different,
and you always see a lot of cooperation in the clubs that put on the race. They just have a much deeper commitment to their organizations and pride in the event the organization puts on.
How do we go about influence and
I'll add
kind of
one
building
more.
that culture?
I'll add one more important part. The cities help fund the tracks.
Oh, that's a big part.
Makes a really big difference.
Yeah, that is a major difference maker, right? I think, especially if they get government funding to help assist on things like that.
Yep.
Where everything here in the States it's more business driven.
Oh. There's been a couple guys that did tracks in the U.S. and instead of trying to do for-profit tracks, they did them as nonprofits, and that actually tends to work out better. It works better working with the cities, and it works better with the basic resources that you have access to.
That's how we do it for the BMX tracks, and then you can actually apply for grants as well.
Right.
Yeah, and then skate parks, I'm sure kind of work in a similar fashion, whether it's kind of city funded, and maybe we can kind of start maybe going down that path. You think that would be hard to do, to set up something with the city to build like a track in a park or something?
Well, do you remember? Do any of you guys know a guy named Bubba Burnham?
Don't think so.
He had, I believe, his track was in Mississippi, but he had a very successful nonprofit for a while. I haven't heard from him in years, but he had set up a for-profit one and had problems with the city and the leases and the rules. And he talked through the city with what he was trying to do, and they suggested a nonprofit. And he formed a nonprofit, figured out how it aligned with what the city was trying to accomplish, and then they actually helped support him, put him into an old rec center, and worked with the city. And he had a really good program there for a long time.
Interesting.
I think the hard part would just be the parking and stuff. If you're in a park, it's just being able to find a spot for the cars and campers and things like that.
So for really big races, yeah, but the normal races, it works out good.
Yeah, for local, yeah.
Interesting. So when I asked you about carpet and dirt, you said that you're enjoying learning carpet. How is that going? What do you think of carpet, this new surface that we're racing on these days?
Wow, from a track owner's perspective, it seems really nice.
Yeah.
A lot less maintenance, a lot easier to do track changes. As far as like an indoor facility, a dirt track's a lot of overhead, both in maintenance and cost and keeping the building nice, trying to keep it clean, trying to keep your inventory clean.
Yeah.
It's a really difficult business to deal with every day. So the carpet has so many benefits that way.
Yeah. I also feel like carpet, it's kind of more attractive to new racers or people that are just getting into it because they have instant grip. They're not trying to set up their cars really to get grip and be able to drive around the track. They just have traction already. So the learning and driving part they can do more of, I feel like. But yeah, it's do you think we'll have one day a Worlds on carpet?
We already have.
I mean, it's one and maybe only once though. Do you think? I mean, and that was turf.
I'm sure we will.
Eventually.
I can't imagine we won't.
Do you think? What do you think, Dakota? Do you think it'd be an awesome Worlds to have like a Worlds on carpet, like carpet?
I think it would be cool, but I think that
maybe once every 10 years or something.
It's just hard. I don't really. I think carpet's fun, but I'm not really like sold on it being like off road. So I think a carpet one would be cool, but I would hate to see it replace like a Worlds that would be on dirt.
Right. Maybe a separate race or something. Who knows? Yeah, I don't know. Scott's been learning carpet. He's having a blast. All the stories. Yeah, all the stories that he there's positivity from him. It seems like it's kind of like the new thing as of now, and especially with the cars all kind of being trending in this direction with grip. And I don't think it's going to go anywhere, right? It's going to stay forever, be a part of RC racing forever now, right?
Time will tell.
Time will tell. Interesting.
But,
All right.
but like Gil says, I mean, from the business standpoint,
It has
like
to-
our local R1 carpet track, he races carpet off road in the morning, or I'm sorry, he races carpet on road in the morning, then races carpet off road in the evening. So it's like, and then if he wanted to get spicy, he can throw an oval event in there. So basically, you got 3 different genres that you can race on the same exact track, and within 10 minutes, you can reset the track up. That's what's so cool about it from the business owner standpoint.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's tons of positives from carpet racing. But I don't know. I don't think dirt's ever going to go away.
No.
Never, right? So I think there's all people when they first kind of like carpet was kind of getting introduced and gaining popularity. A lot of people were, I think, apprehensive of the fact that maybe carpet would replace dirt. But I think now it's just another option that somebody has to maybe build a track, or have another option to a different surface to race on to enjoy RC cars still. So I think it's just an addition to RC racing, not like you have to pick one or the other. You don't. It seems like for a while, it seems like everybody was like, I'm just dirt, no carpet. And then now it's like, oh, I'm just carpet. I'm not doing dirt anymore. Now, but it seems like now it's kind of balanced out a little bit where people don't mind doing both or mixing around.
I
And
think
then throw
running a good quality track is fun no matter what it is.
Yeah, exactly. That's it right there. So awesome. So Gil, I know that you've probably done your short bio many times. How you started Losi. But before we get into that, I wanted to talk to you about something that maybe a lot of people don't know. But your family actually had a skate brand for a while.
Yep.
Right? And then in the era of the Bones Brigade.
Yeah, back in the 70s, we were basically, the skateboard company was Veriflex, which a lot of people know. Some if they're from that era, they'll remember the skate team and the pro products.
Yeah.
But after we started Team Losi, the pro side of Veriflex stopped. And my brother carried it on as long as he could, but he didn't have the business kind of leverage with my uncle that my father did. So the pro products dwindled off, and they just stayed in mass market with the lower cost products. But at one point, it was the most successful skate team in the world for about 4 years.
So you own your family owned and started Veriflex.
Yep, they started it from scratch. The idea came sitting at a cousin's wedding.
Just like, hey, we should start a skateboard company. This sounds cool. Like,
Well,
how does that start up at a wedding? Like,
yeah, me and my brother Alan were skating like crazy. We were really into skateboarding at that point. And my cousin was actually a salesman working for a skateboard company out in the valley. And so that's what started the topic. What are your kids doing these days? And both my dad and my uncle were looking to change career paths at that point. And they just decided to pull the resources and give it a try.
Wow. And then you said you guys had probably the most successful skate company for about 4 years.
Yeah, as far as going like contest skating and who was winning the most stuff, we had a really good run.
And you had to battle like guys like the Bones Brigade, Pal Peralta, like Tony Hawk and those guys, right?
Yeah, Tony Hawk and my brother Alan came up together. They were in the same bracket throughout their careers.
Wow, that's crazy. It's
They're actually very good friends.
So still to this day, they're really good friends?
Yeah.
Wow, man, that's crazy. And then Tony's obviously become the legend that he is with Hawk and his brand and Birdhouse and all that stuff. Yep. I mean, obviously he took skating and just went off with it and found his thing, and he's become quite the icon too. Jeez, crazy.
Yeah, he did a great job, and he was one of the few that really kept his nose clean, didn't get into all the bad stuff that was really popular in that era.
Christian Hosoi, for instance.
Well, just a lot of them. It was
Gator.
the culture. The culture at that time was kind of a bad boy culture, and it was hard to be clean. That was part of one of the reasons I didn't mind leading skating.
Mm.
I didn't like the bad boy culture that was being propagated or was popular at that point. And Tony was one of the guys that tried to stay on the straight and narrow. So I was really happy to see him see all the success he did.
Wow,
That's super
that's
cool.
crazy. Did you so do you feel like your experience and your involvement with the street skate scene, do you feel like some of that image or that culture or that style kind of carried into Team Losi when that was started going? Because I feel like the image of Team Losi was a lot different from the image of what Team Associated was. They were more kind of the, in RCs, the bad boy, or they had more color. They had a different. The Losi guys had carried themselves a little bit differently. Do you feel like
Well,
that's kind of gravitated from the skating days?
it gravitates from my father. I
Oh,
mean, and, so he really was the driving force behind the culture at Losi all those years. My dad was one of those people that could make things happen. When he wanted to play a little league when he was a kid, they didn't have a little league team in his neighborhood, so he formed it, got it sanctioned, and got into the league. And he was basically the captain of his team, and made it happen. To do that when he was a little kid, and he's just always been that kind of person where he doesn't mind taking on the burden. So like we ended up in RC because I built the track for me to race or practice on, and people showed up and wanted to race, and my dad was willing to put on the races, be the promoter. And so he always had that kind of the catalytic personality to make things actually come true. So I was really lucky that I got to have the skill set that he could take advantage of, turn a company and wrap a company around what my skills were.
wow, crazy. It truly is like a family thing where you guys had like, you were good at one thing, your dad was good at one thing, and then like that just kind of nurtured what Losi became in the future, like
Yep.
that culture and that brand, that style, and then that we still kind of see today. Like even many years down the road, it's still Losi. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. It's awesome.
Well, Pop always had a bigger than life presence at the track, and I work my butt off and support everybody and keep all the product from the backside, but I could never bring that big personality at the track that he brought.
Man, wow. So what is your dad up to these days? I know he's into cars.
Yeah, he's in his hot rods.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hasn't changed at all. If he was younger, he'd still be out doing it.
That's good to hear.
So I'm going to use that as a segue to. I have two questions for Gil.
Perfect.
All right. So my dad is very similar to your dad. Born and raised in a hot rod family. I learned how to drive when I was 8 years old on a 28 sedan. Okay, that tells you where I come from. So my two questions for you is: do you have that same passion that your dad does? And if so, what is your favorite all-time car ever?
My passion is very different than my father. See, I grew up with my father racing real cars. Mm-hmm. So okay. I loved racing and racing technology, racing strategy, how a car fits into the strategy more than the car.
Okay.
And so I don't have the sit around and talk about cars passion that my father does. I have the sit around and what are we going to build passion. But once it's built, okay. I'm done with it. I don't have any more interest in it. So he still loves the passion and getting together with people that are passionate about cars. Now, if I were to build a hot rod to just go drive around, I'm still at probably like a 67 to 69 Camaro.
Okay.
Those are always my favorite cars growing up.
All right. I won't hold the Chevy thing against you, but that's okay.
Die Hard 4 guy.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah, I have a 29 coupe right now, but my ultimate favorite is a 29 truck. That's always been that and a 32 Highboy. How can you be in hot rodding and not love a 32 Highboy? So it's
exactly.
Yeah. 34 was the last good year of cars, Everything before that was the best.
Wow.
Well,
Going way
when
back.
you build your own parts.
Excuse me?
So that's back when you could actually build your own parts for your car almost.
Yeah. My
So
dad's a
simple.
machinist, so it was easy, but
Yep.
crazy.
Did you have a second question, Scott?
That was it. Basically, if he had the passion, and what would be his favorite car?
Gotcha. My question's...
So wait, with that being said,
good.
I'm just going to go out on a limb here. You know, Thomas, we were joking about this yesterday.
Do it.
So Dakota, I'll ask Dakota and Thomas, what's your all-time favorite car?
Oh.
Man.
Yee. Dang, that's a tough one, man. Because I'm a big car fan. I loved watching all the car shows, Top Gear, all that stuff. I watched every episode. I'm a huge car fan, but I guess it's kind of like what right? It's like my era, obviously. Like I own probably the car that I'd probably want to just get just to play around with and restore. It's a second gen RX-7, and the reason why I like that car was that the engine was totally different. It wasn't a cylinder engine or a piston engine. It was just two triangles and two triangles and a thing that spins around in the center, moving these triangles. And it's just so, to me, conceptually, it's just like, how in the heck does this thing even work? It's amazing, and they're just unique cars. So I guess, I don't know, second gen RX-7 for me. But I'm also a muscle car fan, hypercar fan, all that stuff. But I own a second gen. It's a project, and someday I'll restore it and I'll be like, you know what, this thing's awesome. I'm gonna cruise around. It's nothing special. It's like $10,000 probably if it was all done up nice, but it's just really cool, a classic and a kind of a timepiece, because at that age that's the car I kind of wanted. So it just, yeah. Dakota?
Cool. Yeah. I'd probably say just kind of growing up. I mean, I kind of grew up in a car family with my parents, and now they've been going on car shows and doing that a lot. So obviously, I love all the old muscle cars and just all the stories and stuff with that. But growing up, in my teens and stuff, I would say the Evo kind of always stuck out to me. Just really piqued my interest, and always been interested in it, and had a few, and really enjoyed them and have great memories.
Cool. Yeah, I think that almost goes back to what Gil said about how he answered the question about the favorite era. Like me,
exactly.
I worked on my first Model A when I was 3 years old. So, and my dad's known as Mr. 29, because almost everything he's owned has been a 29 except for the 32. So it's like, that's what I grew up on was street rods. So NSRA was pre-48. So every event that I always went to with my dad, it was all pre-48. It wasn't muscle cars. So I love muscle cars, but I grew up on the pre-48 stuff. So yeah, I think it just goes back to what you're used to, what you grew up on.
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do, and I think that stands out more when you get older too. I think when you're young, you kind of all over the place, and maybe you'll shift around a little bit to newer gen, older gen stuff. But I think as you get older, it kind of solidifies into something that you're very comfortable. You grew up kind of really, and that's why we see a lot of guys that grew up in the generation. They end up getting older, get some money, and they start collecting the cars that they grew up around the ages of 15, 16. Wanting and desiring, and then they end up get in a position to do something about it.
Yeah.
So it's just car stuff is just fun, man. It's just a lot of fun.
For sure.
So my question to Gil is about the eras. So old era, new era, but I want to talk about the difference in what we have now, which is called social media. So the RC era without social media, and now we have the RC era with social media. How do you think it's impacted racing and the hobby? Do you think has the RC's benefited from being connected to social media, or do you feel that the excitement and energy was a little bit better with the printed media, the slower information, and people stayed longer? Or do you feel like there's a difference with the social media and how it's impacted the RCs?
Well, I think you probably already know my answer from the earlier. I think that the longer people stay innocent, the better, the more fun it is, and social media helps ruin that quicker for people.
Yeah, in a way it does, doesn't it?
The excitement isn't there like it used to be with the hobby show, which we brought the hobby show on a lot of our episodes.
Yep.
A lot of, I mean, but at the same time, there seems to be a lot of information. So like, I feel like at the same time, the people that really are into it or start to feel that fire and that passion, they can search out a lot of information and get connected, you know. But like you said, if they stumble upon information or an experience that isn't positive, they end up kind of maybe turning away or getting not as innocent, as you say.
Well, social media is just sped up everything. So it doesn't, I don't know that it's positive or negative. It just sped everything up.
Interesting. Yeah, it's definitely changed it, I think. And then being somebody that's worked a lot with social media, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. You got to have it. It's a great tool, but at the same time, it can be very destructive. Like we see with fake news and things. Like sometimes I look at social media stuff, I don't know what to believe anymore. I don't know if what I'm reading is really true. I don't know. I don't feel like I get the full story ever. And I don't know really, like, it's kind of confusing. It's more confusing than it used to be because now the people have figured out how to kind of manipulate it.
Well, have you ever taken an NLP class?
No.
So there's classes called Neural Linguistic Programming, and it's the art of reframing conversations and thoughts. So it's also referred to as open eye hypnosis.
Open eye hypnosis.
Everything in marketing and politics today these are all NLP experts, where they're really good at spinning a conversation and changing wording and be able to change people's perspective and thoughts without actually saying anything. You know, they can just keep reframing the same thing in different ways and spin its meaning without actually saying anything. If you someday just take a quick watch a quick video on NLP, and it'll open your eyes, and you'll watch politicians especially talk, and it'll just blow you away. It's very entertaining to watch.
Really? So do these politicians know they're doing this, or it's just
they're all trained to do it.
They're trained to do this.
Yeah,
there's classes you can master this.
It's a skill you have to actively learn how to do.
Wow. I did. Yeah, I think my mind's kind of blown there. I'm like, what? People trained to do this, to deceive or not, to open eye hypnosis?
But it's not deception, it's reframing.
Reframing.
I just did
it. See, back in the day, you had Dale Carnegie's How to Win and Influence People.
Yeah. Yep.
What happened to like the good old $100 under the table situations, man? Like it's no longer that, is it? It's like you can't just like kind of buy somebody. You have to like trick them into believing your story.
That's social media. Social media is the perfect platform for those tools.
Wow. So we're in a new era of social media, and things are happening to us, and we don't even know it.
Well, you know it. You just don't watch it yet.
Oh man.
Learn a little bit, become a fan of it, and then it loses all its power.
Oh, huh. Interesting. I'm going to definitely look into this because there's so much of it. It's starting to bug me. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm writing it down.
Yeah, I can't like actually look at stuff without getting annoyed. I'm like, God, more of this, like, dude, like, and then I start to unfollow, and it just kind of becomes this weird experience with social media, and I don't like it. It's like, what's going on with this stuff?
Well, that's why you don't see me on social media. I only check in when I need to go look for something. I don't spend any time on it on a daily basis.
Oh, interesting, dude.
I always enjoy talking with Gil. He always learns something new. You never know what it's going to be, but you always learn something. Whether it's RC, about some coffee beans or just about about life and social media. It's There's always something you learn.
Yeah.
I
So, yeah.
I do pizza dough today.
Oh, there you go.
Pizza dough? You're doing pizza dough right now? Like today?
Look, I made pizza today.
Always
Is
learning.
there a trick to doing pizza right?
There is, and I'm not that good at it yet. I'm still trying to find it. We were discussing yeast and how you have to get it through the right feeding cycles and get it to digest the wheat properly before you get the right flavors.
Interesting. Timing.
Yep.
Is it heat time, or is it like?
No, it's actually you have to wait for his living organism to properly digest the wheat before it's the right flavor.
Interesting. the knowledge that gets dropped on us here about pizza dough. I never imagined I would sit here and just be like mind blown about pizza dough, like yeast.
So I'm one of those geeks. I'm like the other people that are buying too much wheat and yeast, trying to learn how to make sourdough bread.
Is it tricky?
It's hard.
Really?
Yeah, because you actually have to create the yeast culture. You have to keep it alive long enough for it to go sour and build its own immune system. And yeast, when it's properly cared for, has an immune system, and bacteria it'll fight off with bacteria itself. And so it becomes its own living organism. You got to feed it. You got to take care of it. Then you take part of it off and mix it with fresh wheat. And then it becomes your bread dough. It's easy once you know how to do it, but it's hard to learn.
Dude, is there anything you don't know about, man? That's what I really want to know. Like, it's impressive amount of things that you know. It's just impressive, man. Like your memory do you get complimented often about your memory, how like accurate it is? Because I wish.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't feel like my memory's going, but I don't feel like it's like super memory like what you got. You know what I mean?
I cannot remember names to save my life. I am
so
terrible
certain
detail.
Things.
I'm good at process.
Huh. Interesting.
My wife
man.
tells everyone that I remember being born. My memory is so accurate and good. And then sometimes it's a blessing, or sometimes I take that back. Sometimes it's a curse, because it's like I'll talk to people in my family. I'm like, well, remember this time where we went this and did this at this time and went over here and went over there? They're like, what the hell are you talking about? I don't remember that trip. And it's like, how could you not remember? There's pictures that prove it, and then it sucks. I love it, but
man.
it sucks sometimes.
Yeah, it could be a curse, right? Do you have? I mean, Scott, do you have photographic memory or just a really good ability to recall memory?
I think a little bit of both, more to recall the memories. But I'll agree with Gil that I can see someone I haven't seen in 30 years, and I know who they are. I don't remember their name, but I know exactly who they are, kind of thing. Or like, I can drive from here to, 4 states over, know exactly how to get there without a map, but I don't know the names of the road. So it's kind of more photographic, I guess. But
Interesting, man. Yeah, I don't think I have any special memory. I have to take a lot of notes is usually how it goes, and I still miss a bunch of things. Email, like my email has like flag, and I'm like, oh, dude, I gotta go through all these flags just because I can't remember everything because there's so much going on. Like I'm just kind of everywhere, so like I have to make mental notes or find ways to cheat so I can remember things. But like, yeah, it's impressive, man. So the coffee with I know you, Dakota mentioned that you're a big coffee guy. Did you own a business or something? I remember hearing something that you own your own coffee.
No. It's just a coffee.
Okay, so you're just a coffee fan. Is there a particular coffee that you like?
Well, I buy raw beans from all over the world, and I roast them myself.
Wow. Jeez. Awesome. Yeah. So have you found like certain beans that bring out more flavor? Is there a part of the, beans from parts of the world that you prefer?
Yeah, I tend to prefer South American beans.
What is the difference between just kind of give us a little just breakdown on some of the beans. Like, is it darker? Or what do you like about the South American
So
beans?
South American beans tend to be more earthy and chocolatey. Where you get to the African beans are more floral. So if you're going to make just normal black coffee, maybe the African beans are very good because they have all the floral tea flavors. But I tend to do a lot of espresso and espresso mixed drinks where I like the heavier coffee syrupy flavors. And those tend to be more leveraged towards the South American beans.
Gotcha. So how do you roast your own? Like,
So
what
maybe-
flavors do you make? Like, is there a certain flavor that you've experimented with and be like, this is the Junior right here. This setup.
I like change. I like to experiment. So I'm always looking for the next thing.
Interesting. Huh. I was
So-
talking
Hey,
to
Thomas.
Barry. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I think you need to add a question to your Longhorn.
Okay.
Your Longhorn, and
Yeah.
maybe you need to have a Dunkin' and Starbucks. Dunkin' or Starbucks
Ooh.
question.
Yeah, I like that. That is a good thing because I think Duncan's terrible.
Whoa! Oh, I'm done.
Thomas is just making enemies everywhere.
You got to pick a side. In one of those questions, you have to pick a side and be. You can't be like, oh, I like both. Like you got to pick one, and then it becomes more interesting, right? So, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a huge Starbucks fan. We end up just going there, usually because Jason always goes, so I'm like there, so I just get a drink. I'm not a huge Starbucks fan. I do think Starbucks is a little bit better to me personally than Dunkin', but that's just because I'm on the West Coast. I grew up on the West Coast. I went to college in Seattle. That's where Starbucks started. So that's my connection with Starbucks over Dunkin'. But I'm not, honestly, I will drink either. I'm not like, oh, I gotta have Starbucks, or like Dunkin's trash, not that way. But I'm gonna add that question: Starbucks or Dunkin'. That's a good one.
I know Dakota's been to Starbucks about 573 million times with Kevin before in a day.
Yeah. Yeah, like 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Gil, Starbucks or Dunkin'?
Well, between those two, I definitely go Starbucks.
Yeah.
But again, I do espresso stuff, and Dunkin' has some espresso stuff, but they're primarily a coffee company, not an espresso company.
All right, there we go. Starbucks. So, if you had to choose a coffee place, what's your pick of the chain stuff, like Pete's?
See, I actually don't. Everywhere I go, the first thing I do is study, or I look up who are the local roasters that do their own little niche things, and I go meet them and drink their coffee.
Oh, interesting. Very personal with your coffee.
Dakota will tell you wherever I get to. First thing I do is I study where are the local coffee roasters, and I go check them all out.
Well, you're into it, huh?
Dedication.
Yeah, awesome, man. That's awesome. I mean, I like coffee. I drink it every day. I not really that into, like, I'm not at that level of Gil, but like, I do care about a good cup of coffee. What I've noticed though, like when I travel out of the United States, like Australia, for instance, their coffee is amazing. Like Slovakia, also the coffee was amazing. Like we'd get flat whites or whatever espresso mixed drinks, and it was really good coffee.
Well, come down and visit my garage. I'll see how I do.
Dude, that is an invitation I will definitely take up someday for sure. I'm looking forward to that. Have a cup of coffee with Gil, man. That'd be awesome. So let's get to some questions, huh? We burned through some questions.
All right, let's see what we got here.
There's got to be a ton.
All right, we got one here from.
Oh
Taker.
man.
Just bought a 22.5 Elite. Was wondering if there will be a 22.5.0, 22T 5.0. Another stadium truck guy.
A lot of people wanting to know about the stadium truck. We've got a ton of questions. Each show we have, it's like, hey, when's the new truck coming? When's the new truck? And do you feel, Gil, like the truck would ever come back? Because it used to be such a big part of RC racing.
Well, when you raced outdoors and the tracks got beat up, the trucks were way more fun than the buggies. So I think a lot of it depends on the style of track people run at.
Mm.
The bigger, faster, rougher tracks, the trucks are just a ton of fun. So I don't know. I always thoroughly enjoyed the truck class.
Oh,
Did
yeah.
you prefer buggy over truck? Or pretty close? It didn't matter.
If I was going to go race for fun, I'd probably prefer the truck. But
Really?
the buggy class was always the premier class, so that's what we
Right.
focused on.
Right, exactly.
With that being said, we never asked you, Gil, favorite class of all time? Dirt, on-road, electric, nitro, what is it?
8-scale on-road.
Wow.
The F1 of RC.
What I've never done it. What is it about 8-scale on-road besides obviously it's amazingly fast? Is there a thrill that you don't get in 10-scale obviously or something?
When
The
you
energy?
get it, so when you get an 8-scale on-road car right, you can drive the tires literally right off the car. So it's like your limit isn't what you can do; it's how long can you do it for. And it really, you drive them so hard when they're right. And I don't know if you've ever followed go-karting or 8-scale on-road. They set up similar, where it's a live axle car. So you basically, a live axle car wants to stop very straight. It doesn't have the instability that a diff car does under braking or trail braking. As you turn into a corner, the inside tire lifts, the outside tire is trying to pull the car back straight. So you're coming in, you're trying to get the car into the corner, you're trying to get that inside rear tire up and then pick up the throttle early enough that it actually turns off the outside rear tire. And the front tires just act as a guide of where to go next. And you basically are almost standing the car up on a single tire and just driving it as hard as you can make as much power as you can get through the tire to do it. And when you get it right, it's just incredible.
Sounds like Dakota would have fun at this.
Everybody does if you ever get it.
He would be hard on that throttle, man.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Break it quick.
So, okay, brings me to the next question here. Electric or nitro? Which one's your favorite?
Most of my career, I prefer nitro. Now I'm lazy and I don't want to do the maintenance, and I prefer electric.
If you notice, he always shows up with an e-buggy. Always an e-buggy.
Dude, I'm on that program too, though. Like I get it. Me and Gil are like we get that. Like e-buggy for me.
No, I love nitro engines. It's just so cool, and there's nothing like when you listen to them, you get to be around them, you get to take them apart. They're little pieces of mechanical art, and you just have to really, really appreciate what they are. But you also have to, if you're going to race them, you have to commit to doing it right, or it's not fun, and you have to devote the time to it.
All right, next question here is from Craig, and it is maybe a dumb question, but will Losi ever begin engineering an on-road car again? So I'll answer this one, and unfortunately, no. Touring car in the U.S. just isn't what it used to be. I wish more than anything that it was, because it would be awesome to race some carpet. To have on-road where it was back in the day was pretty cool.
Yeah, I wasn't around for much of the Losi on-road days. From the stories that I've gathered, it was pretty awesome. The street weapon.
Well, God, where to start? The street weapon. So Losi goes way back into, the first on-road car I ever designed was the 12L. So the L stood for Losi on the 12L out associated.
Wait a second.
Really?
No way.
Yeah. So
no way.
I worked really closely with Curtis, and I contributed a lot to the success of the 500. Then we used to, at the pit shop, we imported the Serpent Quattros, and basically we prepped it for American-style tracks. We added live axles that we produced. We did a whole different graphite chassis kit that laid out the car different, changed the front end geometry. built our own sway bar systems for it. And basically what we were building out of the Serpent cars is what the 8-scale car community has adapted as the normal. Almost every car today owes its roots back to the Quattros that we built.
Wow.
So, we were on-road guys through that whole period. Now, the street weapon, we took, the touring car thing was going, was just exploding in the U.S. It was big in Europe. And we kept getting asked by our European agents to do a touring car. So at the time we shortened up the double X4 and just tried it as a touring car. And it was kind of a just try it. Maybe it'll be a rally car. We'll see what it is. And we just came out with it. We didn't really do any development other than just build a car out of it. And it had moderate success at first. And then we actually decided to commit and do the testing and the development to learn how to race it. And, we basically, me and Ron Rossetti spent an entire summer racing train car and learning how to set it up and how to make it work. Went to the World Cup, which was a demo class at the On-Road Worlds. I don't remember what year it was now, but the World Cup in the UK, and David Spachette won. Joel was, I think, second. And that was David's first event with the car. And then after that, he went on to win like 3 or 4 European championships and British Touring Car Championships with it. And Josh Searle won a bunch of stuff on carpet here. Joel won both asphalt and carpet nationals with it. So it was one of those, it was such a weird car that we had to really go out and learn how to set it up and make it work. But once we learned how to tune it, the car became very successful.
Wow. I can't believe the L. I'm still stuck at that.
If you found an old 12L kit, it used to say design, or the suspension design was from Gil Losi.
Whoa, man.
That's cool.
That's a piece of history I did not know that and didn't expect right there. Holy cow. I always wonder, like, what RC10 even stands for, or like, and then 12L, what about the 10L too?
Well, they use the same suspension design.
So that's why it carried over to. Oh man, that was your stuff, man.
The whole spherical T-bar suspension design was mine.
The T-bar, because that design ran for a long time.
Yeah,
I mean, very long time. Holy cow!
Wow. So, got another question here, and I'm going to start this question off. And I don't know if this is a touchy thing, but I'm going to do it anyways. So, the very first time that I saw you race, okay, so I came into this older. I came from racing, from real racing, and got into this. So I was 30 years old when I raced my first RC car, and I saw you at St. Louis. Not sure if it was Kyosho race or what race it was, but it was at Dirt Burners outdoor A scale. And so I'm going to put this question up on the screen here. And I saw you, and I didn't, at the time, had no clue who you were. I didn't know anyone in the industry, and your hands were shaking really bad. Mm-hmm. And I questioned, I'm like, is that hard to drive? And, because I didn't understand, if it was nerves, if it was medical or what it was. But have your hands always shaken like that?
No, they did. Early in my career, when I was actually really good, no. I didn't start shaking till about 1984 is when I really started to shake bad. And it's turned out it is some sort of a neurological thing. It's because it's tied to excitement. And if I can be practicing by myself and my car gets really good and I get excited about my car being good, I shake just as bad in practice as I would in a race.
Wow.
So if I'm nervous at a race, that adds to it, but I can shake by myself testing.
Does it affect your driving?
Very much.
Okay.
Actually, very much.
Really?
And do your hands shake like when you get excited or nervous doing other things?
It can. If it's adrenaline, if it builds adrenaline, I can shake. I can if I get out and ride a quad, a dirt bike, or a dune buggy, and I get really excited. When I stop, and let go, I'm shaking.
Wow. Okay.
That must make it tough for RCs for sure. Because
Yeah.
I don't shake, and I still crash a lot. You're like,
Well, I think and they help a lot.
I mean, I don't shake, but dude, I'm bailing out all the time. Yeah, so that must be really tough with that.
Yeah. Crazy. Got a question here from our buddy Daryl Silva. What was the innovation into the new four-wheel drive?
He's not nice. Mostly materials, layouts. Yeah. That one I came in at the last end of that project, and the car was already pretty well under development. So my contributions were in material selections and just looking to help make the car more durable.
Were there a lot of different things that you went through and tested to get to the right materials, or was it pretty easy? Like right off the bat, you kind of had your selection of different materials, and like we'll do this, or how do you define like this is good enough?
Well, I mean, that's been something everybody's been doing for a long time through both track testing and destruction testing. Everybody has their own kind of patterns and the tests they like to do. I have mine. I know that the TLR groups developed a few more since I left, but they still use a lot of the same techniques that we developed. More than anything, it's just you take good educated guesses and you say, if it goes wrong, it's going to go wrong this direction. How do we leave a back door to fix it if this happens? And so you're constantly building the tooling, leaving room for shrink or growth accordingly. Get the parts in, try them. Make sure you don't need to adjust materials. If you do, then you adjust the molds to fit the right materials.
Okay. All right. Hey, I hate to cut my part short, guys, but I'm going to have to cut out now. I have a long drive up north tonight. So, Gil, it was great seeing and talking to you.
Thank you. Good seeing you again.
All right. Yes, definitely.
Thanks, Scott.
For sure. All right, guys. Have a good show.
See you later.
Be safe, man.
See ya. Yep. Thank you.
All right. Wow. Now we're facers. Like,
That's funny. What are the odds? Because I can do the same thing here shortly.
yeah. So Dakota actually has you have to get ready to do your weekend adventure.
Yep.
Yeah. So Dakota has to go. It's Chloe's birthday weekend, right?
Yep. Yeah. It's her birthday's next week, so we're gonna.
So you're gonna do something special this week.
Yep. Supposed to be a pretty nice weekend. So excited. The temperatures keeps getting hotter and hotter here consistently, and last couple days have been pretty nice. So hopefully no rain.
Yeah. How do you feel about camping, buddy?
Yeah, it's a work in progress.
So
roughing it out there.
So Dakota, I asked Dakota. He didn't seem like he wanted to go camping, right? I'm like, what? Like to me, like why don't you want to go camping? It's fun, you know. So I started quizzing him, like, what's the deal with camping? You know, is it like the cold, or is it, you know, I don't know, just dirty, whatever, you know. It wasn't any of those things. Guess what it was? He goes, you're sleeping in a tent and anything can attack you. Like a bear.
Sleeping with one eye open.
Yeah, so he says he can't get any sleep because he'll be too nervous or too worried about some wild animal attacking his tent while he's trying to sleep.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? It's a real thing. You guys can when you get off here, ask Frank Root about his camping story. So
what?
It's true. Things happen out there. You never know. So.
But you know, in Michigan, there's a lot of bears.
Yeah, there's a lot of everything.
Wild animals.
Yeah.
So Dakota says he's going to be sleeping in the car the whole time.
Yeah, we'll see. It's definitely safer. It's a good backup option to have just in case. You know. We'll
So
see. I got told that May is good season for the Bears are active right now. So I don't know if that's a joke
they're
or
coming
not,
out of their
but
hibernation, ready to
yeah.
go eat stuff.
Yeah, they're
right?
hungry. Yeah, they're hungry.
Just remember to put your food in the tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, do something with the food, man. Oh man. Well, anyways, Dakota, thanks for joining for the short time that you did. I appreciate it. The trip that I was able to hang out with Dakota for a week and had a great time. We did some practicing. We hung out, barbecued, did all that good stuff. It was a great trip. So happy birthday to Chloe, and you guys have a great trip going camping, man. Stay safe.
Yeah, thanks, man. It was a blast hanging out, and as always, Gil, it's a pleasure talking to you. I learned some new things, like always, like I said. So definitely watch the rest of this video here later on, and see what else I can learn.
We'll be
Awesome,
safe.
man.
Thank you.
All
All right,
take
guys,
it easy.
have a good night. Thank you, everyone watching. Have a good night and enjoy the rest of the show. See you guys.
All right. So Gil, let's talk, man. So what do you think about the industry and the situation we're in right now?
Define the situation.
Let's see. Slick tires, hard to attract new drivers. How do we expand? How do we grow this thing? How do we touch more people so that we can include them into this RC fun that we're having?
Well, first off, RC is as big as it's ever been. There's no shortage of people in RC.
Okay.
And I came into RC in basically call it 1980, and 8 scale was in decline. 8 scale on-road was in decline. 12 scale had just come off its big peaks. 12 scale electric had peaked probably in 78, 79, somewhere in there. And it was kind of starting to tail down. And I came into it up as in 10 scale electric 2-wheel drive, or whatever we could get our hands on in those days. And the people in 8 scale on-road and 12 scale on-road were asking the same questions back then that you're asking today. And through each cycle, each class starts out, it's fun, it's based on something scale, and it's unsophisticated. And it builds to something that is exciting. It goes from fun hobbyist to fun racing. Then it gets serious racing. The minute it turns serious racing, it stops growing. And you have a few people, you have people coming in at the same rate they're going out. And the learning curve to be competitive keeps stretching and getting longer. And the minute the learning curve gets to be more than a year, you start losing people faster than you gain them. And I don't care what category, what sport, whatever, if the barrier of entry gets too high, you just don't keep the masses. You only keep the people that really come in that have the absolute skill for it. And or to be for everybody, the class, there has to be areas of the class that are de-evolved enough that new people can be successful right away. And the learning curve is 3 months to be competitive instead of 3 years.
Yeah. So do we need to step back from like this ultra competitive racing that we've created as racers? Do we need to somehow just dial down the technicality of everything?
Well, I don't think you can. I don't know anybody that's been successful doing that yet in any full-size racing that I've tried. So I think it kind of we have a lot of classes now, a lot of scales. They fragment out, they find their people. But at the same time, we have a lot of different scale, whether it's crawling, rock bouncing, some scale racing. You still have backyard racing. You still have all these different levels of people in the hobby. And the customer chooses the experience they want to have. So if racing wants to be something, to be different than it is, the people that are holding the racing events have to decide how to provide a product that these other people want to participate in. It's no longer a product thing. There's so much product on the market. It's more an experience. And, it's going to come down to creating racing experiences that appeal to more than just the absolute experts.
And then I just feel like it's going to be so hard to do. Well, I've been traveling around for the last 3 or 4 years pretty extensively, going to a lot of these RC race events, and it just seems to get more and more technical. The stock racing getting more and more technical. The more time we give to racing and the racers, it seems to define itself naturally being ultra competitive and ultra technical, which is hard to follow.
Yeah, I mean that's what all racing does, but that's where you see you have the more mature categories like two-wheel buggy, two-wheel drive here, four-wheel drive in Europe, that tend to be the pinnacle, and those get saturated with pro level or expert level people, and they stay solid. They're viable categories, but they quit growing, and the growth usually comes into what's next, and that stays the growing thing until people jump from this and go to that and make that one too technical, and then we have to wait for something else to come up. But
so right now, like I know we're all in this lockdown, and it seems like I've been noticing a lot more of this drag racing explosion going on a lot of people's feeds. I'm seeing people giving it a shot because, well, they don't have to go to a track to do drag racing. It makes sense. They can race something, they can build something, they can work on something, they can do the hobbying side of things, a project, maybe and it relates to them because they can make a car that is basically something they want to own, or a dream car, or something that they can really relate to, and they make it, and then they can go and drag race. And I feel like right now, the class or the genre hasn't really developed so much to where it has that innocence, and people have that. This is new. This is fun. It has that new class, that new feel.
Yeah, and it's a modeler's class right now.
Do you think it will get to a point where it gets just so racy, like everything's just aftermarket, everything, custom, everything?
No. I mean, drag racing has been around since the 70s. And it's come and gone a lot of times while I've been part of the hobby.
Oh, really?
But we used to hold drag races at the pit shop when we first bought it.
Oh man!
So that goes all the way back to there was a drag strip painted down there from when Thorpe owned the track back in the 70s. So it's been around that long. There's been people doing it. It's a really fun scale experience, but it's not ultimately a fun racing experience for any length of time.
So you feel like it's a short
endeavor. It's a fun experience to get together with your buddies. It's not a fun experiment to go to a nationals.
So in essence, this kind of carries what like scaling does. It's a very buddy thing. Grab a 6-pack, go pick up your buddy and go to some park or forest or rock or anything and just just drive around and just have some fun.
Exactly. With a small group of people, it's a blast. If you get 200 people at a nationals and you're waiting around for 3 days to run 30 seconds, that's not fun.
Yeah, 5 minutes versus 30 seconds. We complain about the 5 minutes now. It's like, 3 days, 5 minutes runs. Come on, man.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't imagine drag racing sitting around 2-3 days and you get your 5 seconds in total 30 seconds.
Well, if you get Gary Kais on the show, talk to him about drag racing because he knows it from before I was around. And I actually think there was a class for it once upon a time.
Really?
But that would have been back in the 70s before me.
So is he still around racing drag race cars?
Gary's around RC, period. He likes it all. But he raced everything in the 70s. So he would know more about the early years of the more sanctioned level drag racing than I do.
Okay, interesting. One of my questions to some of the employees, I had to do like a meet and greet with a lot of the employees here at Horizon through phone conferences. And one of my questions to the other Horizon employees was, what project that you've been a part of at Horizon that you feel that is your proudest project or proudest achievement? What project have you been most proud of? Or maybe not just Horizon, maybe in your career. Is there one that stands out?
Probably the biggest standout was the 8.
The 8.
Because it was such a mature class, and for us to be able to be our first deep dive into that category, and to get so many things right, and have basically almost every car out there is copied attributes of what we did with the 8, all the way down to the clutch design, clutch shoes. We did so many different things different, and we did it all so well that is probably the most mimicked car around.
Wow. So, of all the TLR cars and Losi cars, what projects have you worked on? There has to be a laundry list of projects.
Well, pre-horizon, every single one of them.
Oh man, yeah, of course.
I think after Horizon, I still led every project until I left in 2005. So the 8 was my last project that I ran.
And then from 2005, you jumped over to Kyosho?
They moved over to Kyosho to help them develop cars, but the financial crisis started right away, and it kind of started over there first. And we created AKA originally as a brand for Kyosho.
Yeah, I remember that because I was running Kyosho back in the day with Joe Pillars, and we had that kind of a partnership with AKA.
Yeah, so I helped them with a lot of their 10 scale cars and helping them kind of bring them up to a competitive level in both durability and performance. And we kind of did kind of a quick review of most of the 10 scale stuff, started AKA. And as we were finishing up AKA is when the financial crisis started. And it affected the banks in Japan extremely hard. And they came down on all the companies there. So they needed to shut down or cut costs in the U.S., at which point we took that opportunity to buy AKA away from them and do it ourselves.
Wow. Okay. So that's how it separated from Kyosho.
Yeah.
During the financial crisis. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know that because I knew there was at some point there was a split, and yeah. Okay. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. The Japanese bank didn't want to financially support any non-Japanese projects.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And then that's where you came in, like, hey, we'll take care of this.
Yeah. And
so how's that journey been with AKA till now? It seems like it has done kind of a resurgence this year. The Scribble came out, and that's doing well.
Yeah, no, the company did really well in its first 5 or 6 years. But again, the financial crisis lingered, especially in Europe. And, the hobby industry went through a kind of its own meltdown over the last 8 years. Kind of one by one, you saw distributors all over the world falling. The business models that the industry had always used was failing. So we, like everybody else, got stuck with a lot of bad debt, made a few bad choices on categories, and it took a while to turn the company around. I mean, it was really basically at a financial stopping point 2 years ago. And we had to make a bunch of hard decisions and invest money in it, work for free for a couple of years, and kind of all that work is now paying off, and we're able to get the company financially healthy and start coming out with new products. And we have a whole bunch of new products slated to come out for this year. The design's all done. We just need this COVID thing to get behind us so we can have the faith to invest the money in them.
How has the COVID affected your life personally? And do you feel like we're going down the right path in terms of trying to find a way to navigate this?
I don't even want to attempt to have an opinion about that. Myself, I'm incredibly fortunate that I do most of my work from home already. So, and I'm lucky enough to have some really cool projects for both AKA and TLR and Horizon and other categories that I get to work on that are incredibly satisfying. And for me, I'm just buried in work, so it affects me very little. It's affected AKA as a company, obviously.
Right.
So like everybody else, the stuff that is the commodity products for racing have slowed down considerably.
Right.
But we're fortunate that we're able to keep surviving. I think we'll pop out of this looking good. And I'm super excited for the TLR projects I'm working on.
Yeah, I am too. I know it's going to be good. You know what I mean? Like I have just if you're a part of it, and you're talking 12L, we're talking 8. All these projects that you've been a part of that has garnered so much success, and I just feel like these projects that you're working on with TLR, and I'm so happy that actually you're a contractor with TLR, so that we can ensure that the cars have every detail looked at, so it's been awesome. So I'm looking forward. I know you can't say anything about the projects that you're working on, and I'm not gonna try to hint around, even though I've tried to hint around tried to get you to answer a couple questions that obviously you're like, nope, not answering that.
All I can tell you is I have a project I got my teeth into right now that's one of the most fun projects I've ever worked on. Just absolutely fascinating. And when it does come to the market, people are going to be like so surprised we did it.
You're excited. You're excited. Oh, dude, here we go. I'm now
first RC products I've enjoyed playing with in a long time.
Oh,
so I'll get everybody excited about it.
Dude, I want to know what this thing is, dude. Oh my God.
So cool.
Yeah. Well, so what is there like a time frame, a general one that you could give us, like this year, next year?
I can't give anything. You have to get that from Todd.
I'm not gonna get fired. I don't want to get fired. I don't want to say the same thing or dig down the wrong hole. Oh man, dude, that's awesome. I can't wait. So Nancy had actually a great comment, which I saw. So I saw this at Dakota's because we went over to Nancy's, hung out, had dinner, fantastic dinner. Thanks for the spaghetti, Nancy. Loved it. And she said she found 4 Team Losi yo-yos and a skateboard patch at the house last week. So this yo-yo thing, how did that start? Like, was somebody into yo-yos, or did you feel like, hey, we should just get into this and see what happens?
My dad was talking to one of our bearing vendors, and he says, yeah, I'm selling a lot of bearings to this yo-yo company. And then like a week later, he was talking to Hobbyco at the time, and he's like, what's new? What are you guys surprised about this year? And they said, we're selling a lot of yo-yos. And the hobby industry was in a little bit of a slump that year, and we were kind of looking around for something to do. That was kind of the end of the bad brushed lithium or metal nickel hydride battery period, when things got just, motors didn't hold up, the batteries didn't hold up. Everybody was converting to Nitro. We were doing the Nitro trucks, but the 8 scale was still too premature. And it was kind of that transition period. And we got these yo-yos, we played with them a little bit. But my father got super excited about them. And so we spent a month kind of taking apart yo-yos, trying different techniques to make yo-yos work better. And we were able to improve it quite a bit. And yeah, we came out with yo-yos.
Did they sell awesome? I mean, did they sell awesome?
They did sell really awesome. For about 3 years, they were just incredible.
Really, man. And then they were they specially designed? Like, I remember, like, obviously the bearing in there. Was it like a designed to be a trick yo-yo, or was it just an upgrade yo-yo that people could kind of just play with?
We had a pro at the time that we sponsored and kind of followed his guidance.
Wow.
And so we would tune and tweak until, everything in a yo-yo has to do with the string, the knot at the bottom, and how it relates to biting on the teeth of the yo-yo. So there's like, you need enough gap that you can lay the string in around itself and hold it tight and not rub on the teeth. But yet when you take the pressure off the string kind of recoils and gets fatter, and then it would bite the teeth. And how to make that happen, how far you how close you let the teeth get to the bearing. We're talking thousandths of an inch made a huge difference.
Wow.
So I got to be me. I got to go have fun on the lathe and try mocking up a whole bunch of stuff and give it to the guys to play with. Let them play with them all for a while, and pretty soon we could see what worked and what didn't. And we made 3. One was a little round, conventional style shape yo-yo that was good for tumbling tricks, a butterfly that was good for string tricks.
Yeah.
And then we did a hybrid one that was in between.
Wow. So you had 3 different models.
Yep. and we made them
man.
in different materials. You had a we had a metal plated yo-yo for really, it was really good for string tricks because it was really slippery. And then we had the softer plastic. We had a special plastic developed for us that was actually
Wow.
pretty grippy, so we could run a wider string gap and yet still be able to catch the string.
Man, so there's a lot going on to your design and materials, the string, coating, thickness, all that stuff obviously just makes like a great yo-yo. It has to be all right.
Yeah. So as a group, we got to geek out. We got to take the technical we did for RC cars and play with yo-yos and do the same thing there. And it was a fun project during the slow time of the hobby industry.
Yeah, no, that's something different, and it's on. And then every once in a while, I get to see a yo-yo. You know what I mean? Or somebody has one, and it's like, dude, like sweet. You know, like I'm pretty sure there's some people listening right now that probably still have some of these yo-yos that sit around, and then they probably, it's kind of a collector's things for them. It's something that they prize because there's not that many around, probably. Like, or at least in very good condition. So yeah, interesting.
The Yo-Yo Museum or Yo-Yo Hall of Fame in Chico, and go see they have a display of all the different yo-yos and the sub-branded ones we made for somebody else.
Oh man, so, it's there.
It's all there.
Oh, cool! A yo-yo, a museum.
Yep.
Oh, cool! In Chico. Next time I'm in by the A main, I'll go check it out.
I hope it's still there after this COVID thing.
Oh, ooh, yeah. Small. I think a lot of businesses are suffering during these times. With the COVID thing, do you feel like we're going to get back to racing soon? Like, I
think racing will do better than we expect out of this.
Okay.
I think enough people are stuck at home, thinking about what they really value, and racing is such a great way for fathers and sons and families. There's a lot of daughters now, so thank God.
Yeah.
So hopefully we see people get back together and stay closer to home and do more things together, and that's always good for racing.
Yeah, I think this time it would be a very good opportunity for the industry and for everybody to kind of refocus on club racing and supporting the local tracks. I feel like now, because they are missing something that they are accustomed to, part of their lifestyle. I think a lot of people are, are gonna feel like they don't want to ruin the chance, or they'll appreciate it more. It's what I'm hoping people will find with the time that they have at the track or with their friends. They appreciate the hobby for what it is, to bring fun, bring people together, enjoy something that everybody that does RC has in common: the passion about RC cars or anything RC related, planes, boats, radio controlled stuff.
I hope so too, and just everybody needs to remember to support the people that actually support the hobby. The track owners don't make enough money for the amount of effort they put in. Support them, don't criticize them. Nobody's perfect. Things get political at times, but just know that these guys have put a lot into it and they don't get enough out of it. So
it's easy to criticize, isn't it?
It's always easier to criticize than do it.
It's so easy. Like I've been to so many tracks and everybody criticizes tracks, and I'm like, man, you should be thankful there's a place for you to race and go to and enjoy this. I think that's a better perspective than, this place, this, that, complaining about stuff, instead of maybe coming up with ideas to help the situation versus just sit back and say something on the internet and complain.
Yeah, and everybody's got their ideas, and everybody wants somebody to take it and use it. But you got to know that this guy built the track. It was his dream. He's trying to do it his way. Support it or don't, but don't be the one that poisons it.
Toxic's not good in the hobby, I think.
Yeah. Well, just in everything now. That's kind of what one of the things that social media has brought is it gives people a place to be toxic without any consequences.
Zero, really.
And there's consequences, but they don't appreciate it till what they're complaining about's gone, and there's nothing to replace it.
Yeah, for sure. 100% right there. Truth. All right, I've got a question from William Garcia. Being from old school racing, what innovation in RC has progressed RC the furthest for the better? Example, lipo, brushless, etc. Do you have any ideas that you're still influencing RC projects today?
Well, first off, 2.4 radios, the Spectrum radio thing was huge.
So Spectrum was the first to come out 2.4.
Yeah, it was the first to come out with anything that worked, that's for sure.
Okay.
There was a company called Monadio that came out about the same time, but the technology was not refined enough. It had way too many bugs. But the Spectrum group, which I'm proud to have been part of that whole initial project, we did a lot of work with it. Everybody in Champaign did a bunch of work with it. Paul up in Northern California at the time was the inventor and the original brains behind it. But I mean, there was so much work put into making that work. But that was a game changer for the industry. And the project I'm working on now will be another super innovative thing for the industry.
Oh man, you're holding you're now you're starting to play with us. Now you're starting to play with the audience.
Just as cool.
Dude, oh man, it's just as cool. Are you serious? Because like, if it's gonna be something like that, a lipo battery, a brushless motor, 2.4, those three things I think really changed the convenience of RC for us.
No, I agree. No, I mean, when I started racing, the batteries that we had at the time were 1,200 milliamp NiCads, and we were using closed-end bell brushed Noguchi motors. So
yep,
they were crude and barbaric, but the thing that was nice about them is they just worked.
Yeah,
and you could literally use them over and over and over for a year, and they'd still work. And then as things evolved and got faster, they actually quit working as well. They performed better, but they worked worse. And
less efficient.
Well, just at the end, literally, your motor would just catch on fire if you didn't cut the column every run. And your batteries were good. If you charged your batteries and cycled them and put them away, and you didn't cycle them again for a month, you'd come back, half your cells would be dead.
Yeah,
the stuff got to where the performance level was really high, but the actual quality and working was terrible.
Yeah, I remember batteries, like those things didn't last very long, and if you didn't take care of them right, charge, proper discharge, and like if you ran them too many times, the performance of them would just go straight downhill.
Right.
Your runtime would go down, then you'd have to get your batteries rematched, and then it's just not as good as it once was ever. So it's like. And then the motors, like you say, you got to turn those things and put new brushes in almost every run.
Yeah, I quit racing electric for about 3 years because of that. It got so bad I just quit.
That was the reason. Yeah, that was a big enough reason to quit. Like, I'm tired of this.
I don't want to work that hard. Wow. I like to work on the cars, not just do work to run.
Wow, that's crazy.
So I would still go out and develop cars, but I wouldn't race.
Right, just because it's just so much involved just to go race.
Yeah, you were literally spending probably 3 hours a day doing maintenance instead of actually working on something fun.
Oh man, it sounds like that's going to kill it for a lot of people right there.
Oh, it was terrible.
Yeah. So then we get 2.4, we get lipos and brushless. Now you can just run like forever.
Yeah, no. Lipos are great, other than you just got to be safe with them.
Yeah, obviously, now with the high voltage lipos, even better because they have that little safety barrier built in, kind of, where they're not as volatile. They're not at the edge like they once were. And now you can just run them. Now you can charge and run basically thousands of times. You can go to a track, practice 10 packs, no problem. Get out of there in like 2-3 hours and be done.
Yep.
So yeah, I think the technology, that's got to be the top 3 in RCs. Yeah, 2.4 lipo and brushless. So what is next, Gil?
What is next? I think the next innovation in racing needs to come from the promotional bodies. Creating racing experiences that'll grow racing, both for the pros, to be able to bring sponsorships in, to create how to create racing, make racing a product.
Hmm. How do you envision this?
I don't yet. I'm not the one to do it. I think that's where the next real innovation that's going to change racing will come from somebody learning how to make racing a product to bring outside sponsorship in.
Interesting.
So you see Joseph need to do that with his RCGP, but
I think that was the initiative, isn't it?
I believe so. Yeah.
But was to try to reshape and repackage what racing is with the events that they have, and then try to spin it so it becomes a little bit more of a product.
But yeah, you could say Axial Fest is that.
Mm.
It's not for racing, but it is a product. It supports the products, but it is itself a product.
Yeah, it is. It's big, isn't it? Have you been to an Axial Fest?
No, not yet.
I haven't either. This year was going to be my first year, but things got postponed because of this. So
yeah, I almost went last year. I just got too busy.
Okay. Would you partake? Would you be like out there just crawling around?
Maybe. I'm not opposed to it.
No, I think it'd be fun.
We should be more of a racer, but
we should do it, man. We should go in there. We should get some cars. We should just mope around and introduce ourselves and just go have some fun, have a blast, hang out with people, and have a coffee with people.
Exactly.
I think that'd be awesome. What's that?
I would totally geek out building them.
Dude, I think so, man. I think they would be fun. I haven't been exposed to it yet. They look like a lot of fun. And I think that genre of being detailed and like being able to mimic the realism of real stuff. There's an art to that.
Yeah.
You got to know all these got to have the knowledge of where to get certain things, who makes the best version of the gas tank, and like what I mean. Like there's people. There's a lot of knowledge going into being crawlers, man. Like just geeking out on them. I'm sure we could spend hours just geeking out. All right, so
you look at the shots of all the cars from a race from the early '80s, back when we all raced cage cars. They look a lot like going to a scale event today.
Really? Totally different now, huh? I mean, there's nothing.
Paint jobs on a Lexan body, but in those days we didn't have Lexan bodies. Everything was roll cages.
Just cages.
Yep.
So it was kind of like was it kind of like do you remember the Mugen Bulldog?
Yeah.
Yeah, is it kind of like that?
More scale than that, but yes.
Okay. But that was a caged weird beast. I remember seeing back in the day that was, had some it was Mugen and it was a Bulldog. I remember seeing this thing. I was like, whoa, doesn't even have a body.
Well, remember, a lot of these, including myself, we used to build our own cages. We'd go get brake tubing, and we'd braze them together. We'd bend tubing, make tubing frames, and braze it all together, and bolt a bunch of Tamiya parts to it, and go race it.
They do a lot of the custom framing stuff now in monster trucks and some scale stuff. It's still around, custom tubing your own things and getting creative and designing whatever you want to design. It's got that craft to it still.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so we got another question here. This is a good question by RC Vitals. How did you come up with the double X? After 93 Worlds, how did Losi and Kinwald come about? That's a good question. Two-part question.
So the double
X, kind of a game changer to me. I remember the hinge front end.
Quite honestly, I had back surgery basically I had back surgery in I remember years now, but 91. And I was working on a bunch of ideas for cars. And while I was sitting there recuperating in the hospital bed, I got to learn how great morphine is. It was just sitting there and By the time I left that hospital, I basically had the whole double X picture of the whole car in my head. Now it took me about a month to get it all down on paper and prototype it.
So you were in the hospital for back surgery, and through the process of recovering, you developed this idea in your head, and you basically had the whole thing designed and thought about and analyzed and detailed, and then you went and drew it up.
I mean, in a crude way, yes. I mean, we'd always been working on new ideas. We're always testing these. But yeah, that whole front end really came about from having a little vacation away from the track.
Wow, man!
If you want to go back to a vacation.
Because if you look at some of the hallmark design things on the Double X, to me, one of the hallmark designs was when it moved to a plastic chassis. And instead of RC10 aluminum chassis, I felt like the molded chassis that you guys did with the Double X kind of started that whole process for everything else. And then the hinged front end, it was double hinged, right?
Yes.
So there was a top piece that hinged, and then also off the front bulkhead that hinged.
Yeah.
And that which opened up the servo.
Well, it did a couple things. It opened up the servo, but what we really were trying to do was not commit to a fixed bulkhead, because we were really thinking, because tracks were starting to change, the clay tracks were starting to get refined, the grip levels were coming up at races, and we really felt that we were starting with 30-degree bulkhead cars from our historic place, but we really felt like we were going to end up with 25 to 20-degree bulkhead cars.
Oh.
So we wanted a car that would have been easy to just change the top stiffener to get to different bulkhead angles.
Wow, that was it.
So
you could change the length of and then it would change the kick-up.
Yes.
Wow.
And we did run it quite a bit, but we were never successful in getting it to be faster than 30, so we never came out with it.
Oh, really?
We didn't start really running less than 30 degrees until until the B4 came out with it. Because even the Triple X, which the B4 kind of was based off the Triple X, that was one of the things that they did that helped find speed in that platform. But they were really the first ones to get it to work.
So
we'd
was
all
that
been
like
trying for years, but I was never able to get the setup right.
So is that when it split to 25 and then 5 caster blocks?
Yes.
Because I remember it was just 30, right? And then nothing on the caster block, and then eventually it changed.
0 or -5.
I don't think I ever tried -5, but yeah. So you can get 25 there, but somewhere along the line, you started finding out that 25 degrees resulted in more corner speed.
Well, it always did, but we struggled with getting race setups on it. We knew the 30 degrees so well that it was hard to ever stay with the 25 long enough to get the car dialed in. It was really, Terrence and Coach worked hard on when they did their before. They kind of took and spent the time to figure it out.
Okay.
And they struggled with it for a while, but they got it right. Once they got it right, proved to be faster. It's like we always knew it would be, but we could never. We never paid the price and effort to get it to work.
Paid the piper. What is the benefit for, say, explain the difference between going to a 30 and to a 25 caster? How is that faster? How does it keep the corner speed on the car? Is it easier to drive, or what does it do that generates a little bit more speed?
Well, if you just look at what's going on, when you turn the wheel, you get lateral forces, but you also get forces pointing towards the rear of the car. So the more bulkhead that you have, the more the front end's going to collapse. It's what makes it better in the bumps, and it actually makes the car technically feel like it has more grip. Because when you're on the brakes, the 30-degree car shortens up, puts more weight on the front end, actually helps stability. But then when you get on the gas and it raises up, it moves weight to the rear, which helps forward grip. So there's kind of a weight bias adjustment when you have more bulkhead angle. And in the old days on slippery tracks, a lot of bulk angle helped make grip. But the problem is it moves through the travel a lot more. So as grip comes up, all of a sudden now you're not looking for grip. You're looking to shorten the timing events in the corners. And you have to, we started running the front end so stiff with a 30-degree kick that you knew we were going to have to start taking kick out of the car. You know, in order to speed up the transition times and get the car to be able to react fast enough with the grip levels, we had to start losing basically pro dive in the front of the car. And the only way you can do that is to reduce front kick.
Okay. So do you think we will ever start to see a transition to less kick up?
Definitely.
So 20,
Without a doubt.
20, 22 and a half, and then...
So the challenge gets down to durability, because as you start lowering down, even going from 30 to 25, the front arms became more fragile. You know, because now that when you hit a bump...
Because of the way they... Okay, instead of doing this and like taking a lot of damage, when they're kicked up, they actually like able to take the impact better.
That's why it's so much more challenging to make the front end of a 4-wheel drive car as durable as a 2-wheel.
Oh, that is a trick right there, isn't it? And yeah, that makes a lot of sense because of the 4-wheels have hardly any kick.
Right.
Gotcha. Oh, Jim Conquest says this. What do you think? Augie's Coffee and Temecula.
Yeah, Augie's is good. I like Augie's.
Good? You like it? It's a thumbs up?
Thumbs up.
It's a legit place, huh?
Yes.
Nice. I'll have to check that out, man. I'm interested in trying some of these coffee places. I'm just so used to Starbucks. It's just not even funny.
Tell Jim Intaza's even better.
The which one?
Intaza.
Intaza in Temecula. All right, Jim, you got to go try that out and see what you think, man. All right, so we got...
It's closer to his house anyway.
Oh, dude. Yeah, why not? Yeah. You should be ashamed of yourself, buddy. All right, so Philippe Bonnet says bonjour. He's probably in France there. All right. Buddy Blacksmith. I don't know if that's a call sign. Wait. What cocktails are good with coffee? Is there a good mix?
Oh, I need to learn more about cocktails. I'm sorry. That's not my specialty.
There we go. Augie's. Another, Jim's once again touting Augie's. All right, so let's see. Save our, man, we've got a ton of questions. Holy smokes. Do you have time, Gil? I mean, I know that you're a busy dude.
I'm getting a little hungry. It's dinner time. Yeah,
no, I feel you because I haven't done dinner yet myself. I know you have a busy day, and it's going to be a long day just because you're doing the talk with us. I appreciate it. All right, let's see. I can't. So there was a question about 22.5 option parts and what's coming out in the future. I can't really say what's coming out in the future for that. All right, Gil. There we go. Chris Evans, man. Gil, see, I'm not the only one that's a Gil fan. Gil is the nicest person I have met in RC. I've had a chance to talk to him at RCGP, and his knowledge is overwhelming. True story, 100%. So, RCGP, what do you think about it? Packaged almost. Are they on the right path?
I don't know. I like what they're trying to do. We have to see if the customer base bites and supports it.
I feel like they're trying to make it flashy and set up the races to be more entertaining. I think there is a future in this, and I think the companies would be behind it. I just think they need to be able to, like, I feel like if they ran a pilot program, or like did one race pilot to kind of show what it could be to the industry and have us show up, and then kind of built that to show us like this is what we want to build, and and what do you guys think? I think a lot of us would have been on board. I remember going to an RCGP meeting at Worlds in Australia, and that's where JQ and his crew kind of like presented it to us and try tell us what it's about and explain. We had all these questions and we had this meeting, and I felt like it was very close to getting everybody on board, but I think we're at the stage in RC where taking a risk like that is it's harder now. it's harder to kind of like we don't have the excess cash to be like, hey, okay, here, try this, try anything. We got to do something. I feel like a lot of companies are taking more time to invest.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing. Yeah, I know that there's a lot of companies that are struggling financially to be able. I mean, it's just struggling is the wrong word for it. They just don't have the excess cash to burn up on experiments.
Right.
And the RC world, one of the problems with the RC industry is there's too many guys doing it out of their garages, and you can only cut a pie up in so many pieces and create so much disruption before it just can't grow, it can't support itself. And just the China effect and anybody being able to come out with a car without having to pay the dues to really develop it, find suppliers, and it's become so easy to come out with a car. There's just so many of them that what he's doing is good, but at the same time, everybody wants control and nobody gets to have control. So nobody will put up the big bucks that has it. So it's a little chicken and egg thing going.
It's definitely a tough situation. I personally, I'm with anything that is going to improve the RC experience. Like if RCGP ends up becoming the path, I have no problems, getting behind it. But I think at this point in time, it's like it's hard to buy into because it is a big investment. There's no real sure way of knowing what it's going to do, how it's going to affect, and like you said, we don't know if people are going to buy into that package.
Well, yeah, he's got a lot. First, I want to take my hat off to both the guys that really got behind making this happen, because they put in a ton of effort, and it's really difficult to do what they're trying to do. So anybody's ever tried to do it, you can really respect what they're trying to pull off. And God, any way I could help, I'd be willing to do. But at the same time, they're going down a very difficult road that's very unproven, and I think people are going to need to see results before they're willing to dig deep in their pockets.
Yeah, I think it's there though. I think the potential is there. It needs to be navigated the right way, and it's it'd be interesting to see if somebody like you or be a consultant to that whole program, so that maybe it does follow the right path to hopefully be as successful as possible and incorporate all the companies, because it would be kind of cool to see a World Series type event.
Well, I actually don't think that the real consultant they need isn't any of us from the RC industry. I think they need somebody that can actually help them learn how to broadcast and bring outside sponsorship money in. And I think it's really the innovation is going to come from them finding a customer base that can be monetized, and basically self syndication and advertising.
It's changed a lot with the advertising. I mean, me being part of the J Concepts advertising and marketing and stuff, it's changed a lot. Like for Jason to hire me to do a lot of the in-house advertising, promotion, and marketing, and instead of investing money into, advertising with websites and stuff, it's changed dramatically. Like we don't invest in there's less support with websites now. There's less support with live RC and things like that. So it's harder for these news media companies to find money and be able to present the news even to these days.
Agreed.
Just because things have changed so much, like with the media stuff, we don't know, like it just seems like they found that the clicking on the websites and things like that, buying ad space, really wasn't an effective way to market to customers. So then they started changing to become companies hiring a person like me to develop or have some sort of marketing ideas or put different graphics out there to promote products and stuff like that. And it's shifted a little bit from advertising with basically it's like more like in-house advertising, in-house promotion.
Yeah.
Which is
way outside my field of expertise here.
Which has been crazy to just be a part of and see. But yeah, it's nuts. So I think you're completely right with the RCGP thing. Those guys have put in a lot of work, and I hope it comes back 2021. And eventually, I think if they do it right, I think all the companies could be a part of it.
Yeah.
But it has to be set up right to be able to get everybody in. So another question. I'm going to put two more questions before we can kind of close it up tonight. Gil, thanks again for doing the talk, man. I appreciate it. There's a lot of knowledge going on here. Always something to learn. So here's a good question by Rob Moore, which I always kind of am conflicted internally, just because I don't know. Like, there's a lot of big events. So do you guys think that we should go back to just having a couple large races a year and focus on more club racing? What do you think? Too many races? Too many events?
Well, first off, it's not up to us to decide. It's up to customers. The customers are going to all these races, so that's what they want.
Mm.
So start there. It's nobody decides one way or the other. But
right.
I did prefer racing when we had a schedule of like 3 or 4 big races for each class a year, and then the rest of the time was club racing. I did prefer that. Now, in a way, there's so many races that's devalued the big race. But that's an old guy that comes from, that's what I like because that's what I did. I don't.
Yeah, I just feel like there's so much, because you know how involved RC racing is these days. You have to go to a big race. You got to take a few days off from work. You have to show up maybe Wednesday, set up your pits. Practice starts maybe Thursday, then Friday, then Saturday and Sunday. It's a long time invested, and then we have so many of these events that everybody wants to be a part of. Like you said, it's the customer that really wants to attend these events. They exist, and customers go, and it's a successful event, so they have it next year and the year after and the year after. So it's like, yeah, it's not up to us to pick and choose, but I feel like there is a lot of a commitment we're asking from racers to attend so many events throughout the year.
But at the same time, there's a lot of races now that are providing a good enough product and experience that's what the people want to go do.
Yeah, like the Joey Christensen races, they're awesome. Dave Lycum Race Entertainment races, fantastic. They're always he puts on a great show with the award ceremony. There's fire coming out, there's lights, there's music. It is a spectacle. He's trying to package that into, like what you're saying, a product, and then that attracts racers to come race. Unfortunately, the AMS was canceled. But I think PNB might be rescheduled, so that might be happening soon. So we'll see. Eventually, hopefully, as you predicted, that we'll see when we come back from the COVID stuff, that racing will be even more exciting and electrifying, and that people will be really appreciative of the track time and being able to do something they enjoy at the leisure that they want to enjoy it at.
Yeah, exactly.
So all right, so last question right here. I'm gonna hopefully find a really nice, good one here. This is controversial, and it's about RCGP. If it would have been anyone other than JQ that started RCGP, would have been better?
I don't know that anybody else has the inertia that Joseph has. I mean, he's a little bit in some ways like my father, where he's just not afraid to put himself out there and try. And so the same complaints about Joseph are also his strengths.
Interesting you say that.
So I just don't know that many other people would actually do it other than Joseph. I think if he was doing this 15 years ago, he'd have more support. There's a lot more money in the racing, and a lot more financial commitment to racing, or just the people that were committed to supporting racing had bigger budgets. They would have had, but everything's so lean these days
Yeah.
that it's just hard. We don't
Yeah.
so like the other question: do we need more races? Are these just more races?
Mm.
Will these replace a lot of these other races? There's a lot of questions about how you take a race budget and throw in 4 more races that are international travel races. How do you afford it?
Yeah, exactly. The international side of stuff, it makes it even tougher,
Right.
as most people, maybe non-professionals or semi-professionals, they might attend a couple of the RCGP races maybe within the US, but they would probably not go travel overseas to partake, because the expenses is so much. And so, yeah, it's a tough ask, because I think everybody wants to have it, but because it's a world thing, it makes it that much more difficult to be a part of, and more expense.
Yeah. No. So yeah, I agree with all those statements, and yeah. So again, if Joseph can find, and it's not just Joseph, is Michael the guy that really runs it?
Yeah, I can't. I forget his
Yeah,
name.
I'm sorry, I can't remember your name. Ugh. But but anyway, what they're trying to do is like if they just need another revenue stream that can subsidize it, if they can create that other revenue stream outside the hobby industry that can help subsidize this and make it so it's not such a financial add-on to budgets that were already kind of in place and maxed out. That's really what they're fighting against more than
Yeah.
Joseph or anybody else. I think they've done a wonderful job in making a big first step and doing more than anybody else has done
Yeah.
in a very long time. So I don't want to discredit any of that, because I just think that there's such just the racing isn't as lucrative as it was 15, 20 years ago. And we need something like this to end up being successful, bring outside money in, that actually makes it so that the burden of carrying a race team isn't just on the car manufacturer.
Mm.
There's other revenue streams to make it so that supporting a race team becomes a for-profit instead of just a pure expense.
Right. It's hard to switch into that gear, I think. It's got to be some pretty creative thinking
Yeah,
to get it to
but
work.
that's where the next real innovation that's going to change RC racing at the
Right.
pro level is going to come from somebody trying to do what Joseph's doing and figure out how to bring that financial revenue stream in to make it work.
Gotcha. One last question from me. Well, I have 2 last questions. Very simple one. Flying Cars. Have you watched it? Are you going to watch it? What do you think?
I just heard about it today for the first time, so I have to go check it out.
Really? You haven't seen the trailer or anything?
Never heard about it.
Yeah, so a movie. I wonder if there's a lot of people that have already watched it or not. But yeah, Flying Cars, RC based movie, or at least a movie that has RC in it, or a main part of it. And it looks very interesting. I haven't seen it myself. I'll probably maybe check it out this weekend. I want to see, just so I can watch it and maybe just get my own experience, opinions about it, and see where it goes. But
Watch it.
you can I think it's a Amazon thing. Is that correct? Can anybody confirm where you can buy to watch it? Is it Amazon? I think somebody will answer eventually where you can watch this thing. But you have to purchase either Amazon or one of the streaming services. I don't think it's Netflix, but yeah, it just seems like a good way to check out 2 hours to see somebody's creation with RCs and how they involved it into maybe a life story. It sounds like it's kind of a life story or a midlife crisis type of deal. A midlife crisis at 25 or something like that. So either way, it does sound awesome. I want to check it out, and I think it'd be good to support anything that's involving RC at this time. Getting more eyes on it, being more a part of it. I think. Oh, so Phil Fernandez says iTunes. And Felong says it's top box office in RC. So it's probably the only thing in RC. But but yeah, so we got a movie eventually. Finally, a movie about RC in it. I was hoping maybe it would be like a rad version, like a RC version of Rad, the bike movie, or maybe a RC version of Thrasher or Gleaming the Cube. Back in the day they had that style. But yeah, maybe I haven't seen it yet, but it looks pretty interesting. I'm gonna definitely check it out.
Sounds like a great project for the Horizon marketing crew to work on.
Hint, hint, man. We got to get out there more. So my last question is personal question for me, is that you being in the industry for a very long time, you've seen so many things. What can I do? What advice could you give me to be successful at my current job here at TLR?
Well, it really comes down to every day when you wake up. Keep making a list of all the reasons you're thankful to have the job and what you want to do to improve. But if you stay focused on the things you enjoy, you'll be excited, and that'll make you do a good job. Because I always find that human beings tend to poison everything. I was good at that for a while.
Oh,
I had to work really hard to actually pull my own head out and appreciate everything I had and show up at work every day, even when you weren't in the mood, and do a good job. And it really came down to, well, if you enjoy what you're doing, you're always in a good mood. And that comes down to attitude.
yeah. Okay. I'll do my best, Gil. I'll do my best to carry on your name, man. I mean, at this point in my life, like what gives me joy, is and it's not just now. It's been, I think, ever since I kind of transitioned from being, I guess, serious about racing. At some point, I was like, okay, like racing's great, but I feel like I can give more to this industry. I can give more to RC, and my main goal was trying to figure out, how do I grow this? How do I make it better? How do I be a part of the movement that increases RC, that adds to it positively? Like that was been I think my biggest like personal goal with myself, is finding a way to contribute in a positive manner that I can help expand RC the hobby of RC, and whether it's racing, whether it's just playing with drones or having a fun time, to me, the connection with doing it with your buddies, doing it with your family, having that experience where you share it with other people is very special to me, because of the bond and the friendship that you make along the way. It's just something, like all my friends are in the circle of RC, and I can't, I wouldn't really be who I was, I think, without that, without the racing and without those connections, because a lot of these connections that I've made have changed my course of who I've become. It's kind of weird. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but like these people have impacted or maybe opened my eyes or gave me a boost of energy or something that has contributed to me to wanting to do more and hopefully do great things. Like I don't know if it'll all happen the way I am trying to picture this, but I feel like that calling for me to do something with this, like I just had to do something. Like I just had to be a part of it and figure out a way to get into the industry, and somehow I managed to navigate through this and then become where I'm at. So it's like this journey has become something that is not just just a goal, but like this experience of me being in RC. Do you know what I mean? Like none of this would have happened if I never picked up an RC car controller. You know what I mean? None of this would have happened if I never had that passion as a kid, just driving my RC car, wanting to play with this simple toy. And fast forward years and years, now I'm a big part of this, and it's just amazing to be in a position and realize that and be like, dude, I could do something. So like every day when I wake up, like my goal and my motivation is to add to this positively somehow, some way. Energy, do what you can, help as many people as you can, and hopefully uplift this thing so that we can get this thing just rocking and rolling healthy. Like I want to be a part of this for a long time. So I'm going to do what I can to add to the positivity of RC.
Well, this is definitely the ultimate STEM learning program. All the things they want to try to create in school is already here. You learn life skills, you learn how to lose, you learn how to keep inventory. If you go to a race and use up parts, keep track of your inventory, replace it. You're going to go to the next race and be up the creek.
Yeah.
So you have logistics, you have race planning, you have to research where you're going. It's like, to be successful, you're already using a ton of business and life skills. And then on top of it, you throw the physics, the math, and I'll say more than anything, the character of learning how to deal in an environment where you lose way more than you win. It builds a lot of good character in kids that they don't get in sports, organized sports these days, because they're too institutionalized.
Yeah, there's some values, some very important life values that you can that you can learn through RCs, no doubt.
I think I've mentored probably 20 to 30 kids through engineering school, and they would have never done it if it wasn't for their experience in RC.
Yeah. Awesome. Gil, thank you for being a part of the show today. It's there's a lot going on, not just obviously the history talk and the getting to know each other, or getting to answer questions for people, like there's lots obviously happening on different layers here, and I'm just glad to be a part of the ride. And thanks for everything, for the phone call and the words that hopefully will make a ton of sense later too, and then I can actually start really, Gil, if you don't know, Gil gave me homework after the first conversation we talked, and so I have to do some homework. I've done probably about half of it now, so I'm learning.
Does it help?
And yes, I understand what you're talking about with the Harley stuff, man. Like, I think I know what you're trying to say, and trying to lead me down. Obviously, you're not telling me answers. I feel like you're never really telling me answers. You're leading me into my own discovery of answers, and I think that's a way more appreciative perspective, because it's my interpretation, not just what you say and what I should do. You know what I mean? It's like you're opening my eyes. You're giving me some info. It's just how I take it, how I reflect upon that, and what I do with that knowledge that really kind of decides who and what who I become, I guess, or how I use that knowledge. So, yeah. So I appreciate the homework, man. I do.
And we're really fortunate to have the opportunity now at Horizon to try to get in here and make this impact in the industry again.
Yeah. Awesome. Gil, thanks again. Everybody who's been watching and paying attention, being part of this show, I can't thank you guys enough. This is what the culture is. If we're not racing, obviously, we get to be able to contact and talk to some legends, and hopefully learn from these guys. And because my life is affected, just from having this conversation. It's a different outlook. Like Dakota says, we're always learning something when we talk to Gil. I appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody watching right now, and with all the questions. Thanks again. We'll have another guest on Thursday, but today's guest closed out with the bang. Thanks again, Gil, and good night. All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks a lot.